How do you find your own identity as an artist? How do you find your own unique sound and style when it feels like the music industry is oversaturated with people just like you? If you've asked yourself questions like these, then keep watching. Because today I'm sharing some tips on how to find what makes you stand out as an artist and how to cultivate that so that you can get more fans and rise to the top. Let's blast off and get started. JM in your universe. Konnichiwa friends, I'm Jonathan Miller and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. Finding your own identity in music begins with knowing yourself. I know that sounds a bit redundant, but there is some truth to it. Lady Gaga stood out in pop music because of her theatricality and love of musical theater in a time where pop music was pretty devoid of that over-the-top showmanship. Queen stood out in rock music for their dynamic songwriting and harmony construction in massive hits like Bohemian Rhapsody. Doja Cat stood out in hip-hop by fusing elements of pop and rap right before the retro nostalgia trend of 2020. All of these artists have multiple other reasons why they stand out and why they're great, but Marketing 101 is going to teach you that the only way to truly stand out is to find what makes you different, or what makes your music different. Now, I've talked a little bit about this in my How to Find Your Niche in Music video, which may be able to help you figure out where your target audience lies, but this video is all about you. And then what you can do about that to bring your dreams to life. So to begin figuring this out, let's start with a series of 10 questions that you should be asking yourself. There's no right answer, but just write your overall favorites down. Number 1, how and where did you grow up? What kind of music did you listen to as a kid? What kind of music did you listen to as a teenager? And what kind of music do you listen to now? What are your interests, your likes or your dislikes? What kinds of things do your favorite idols or influences stand for, aka their morals or code of ethics? Number 7, what do you stand for? Number 8, what do you value most in the music that you like? Is it the lyrics, musicality, production, beat, message, or overall how it just makes you feel? These are all very different things, and the answer is going to vary person to person. Number 9, what types of sounds or instruments in music do you like? For example, I tend to make dance pop music, so I really like 4 on the floor beats, a good drop, synthesizers, arpeggiated bass lines, and hip hop beats. And finally, what is your fashion taste? Part of being an artist is presentation, so you gotta know your style too. All of these questions play an important role in finding your own artistic identity. Your overall sound is not just musical, remember. It's how you present your sound that will also affect how people gravitate toward you, regardless of your genre. As I said before, finding your artistic identity starts with how well you know yourself. So if you're enjoying this video so far, please give it a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss another video like this one. Also, leave me a comment letting me know about your artistic identity. Introduce yourself. Your whole shtick as an artist is made up of a lot of different variables. Finding this is something that record labels pay marketing teams thousands of dollars to figure out and develop so that the artist debuts with the best chance at success. Now, your whole overall identity can be anything from your name, your stage name, your fashion choice, obviously the sound of your music, where you shop, what instrument you play, and more. When you become an artist, you are also becoming a brand of sorts. I know that concept tends to scare a lot of people off, but think about it this way. The Beatles and all merchandise related to them are all a part of the Beatles brand. Rihanna's mega successful Fenty brand is still under the brand of Rihanna. I mean, Fenty is literally her last name. It's not necessarily that Rihanna needs more people to recognize who she is. It's to help keep everything she does under her as a central person, that all of her fashion, other projects, albums, movies even, are all branches off of. The same applies to me or any other artist or influencer. It's also important to remember because the perception of your artistic identity can also be affected by who you collaborate with. Which brings me to this video's sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid is one of the top music distribution platforms for independent artists. And one of their unique services is to help easily pay your collaborators with splits. Formerly known as teams, DistroKid can help you get your money to anyone you work with, and you don't even need to hire an accountant. Which, as an independent artist, keeping costs to a minimum is always a good thing. With splits, you'll be able to add unlimited collaborators to any track and make sure that they get paid. They'll need a DistroKid account, which you can easily invite them to at a 50% discount, making this even more affordable and accessible. You can also change the splits at any time, time, including adding or removing collaborators if contracts change or a new agreement is reached between parties. Privacy, of course, is always maintained, so if for some reason one or more of your collaborators is slow to sign up, your release won't be delayed as a result. Instead, DistroKid will just hold on to the money for them until they do. And DistroKid never takes a percentage of the money as well, meaning that you and your collaborators keep 100% of your total earnings. Use my special VIP link to save yourself 7% on your first year's membership with DistroKid and start getting your music out today. Link is in the description. Another important factor in finding your artist identity is your environment and your vision, aka your perception of who you want to be. The reason we ask ourselves who our influences are and how we grew up is because those things actually drastically affect our music in a lot of ways that you may not even realize. For example, let's go with Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is a classically trained musician from New York who attended Catholic school where she was often mocked or made fun of, and she felt like an outcast. She studied musical theater and eventually went on to write songs for Britney Spears, New Kids on the Block, Fergie, specializing in electronic dance music. She grew up in the late 80s and 90s, listening to people like Michael Jackson, David Bowie, Madonna, Whitney Houston, and more. And all of those things have helped cultivate Lady Gaga into who she is, what she's done, and the sound of her music. From her infamous meat dress at the VMAs, to her song Born This Way and pushing LGBTQ+ rights into the forefront of mainstream pop music, to even the overall sound of her music, both past and present. Everything we do as artists is an extension of our own experiences. If you grew up in a religious environment, for example, like Lady Gaga did, that's going to affect your viewpoints of the world in your writing. If you grew up listening to country music, for example, that may directly affect the type of sounds and instruments in music that you like, and the type of music that you want to create. Whatever your walk of life or your musical influences may be, those things are just as much a part of your artistic identity as you yourself are. Okay, but how do we highlight that? Well, what's great about being an artist and when you start to figure out who you are, you can actually do this in multiple different ways. For this, I'll use myself as an example. In 2019, I released an EP called Utopia that combined clean lines and a cherry blossom motif throughout my promotions, in addition to some references to space, which sounds like an odd combination on paper, but they were all extensions and references to who I am as an artist and as a person. I love modern and space-like designs. I grew up during that late 90s, early 2000s space-age millennium trend. The cherry blossom motif was a tribute to how I grew up as the son of a Japanese international program director, being essentially raised by a lot of Japanese people. So I used touches of the cherry blossom not as an accessory, but to demonstrate an important part of who I am as a person and the people that I call family. My music is very pop and dancey, which also stems from growing up in that 90s, 2000s pop explosion. And the reason I did that is because I took the time to figure out who I was as an artist and what made me different. So you've got to write your answers to these questions down, because the answer to finding out who you are as an artist might be a bit closer than it seems. Take your influences, your experiences, and create a vision of who you see yourself as. What aspect of each of those answers shines through the most? Is there a specific color in fashion you like, or a specific style? How do your influences dress? And what was your favorite era for them? More importantly, why? Why was it your favorite? Write all of that down. What is your favorite song by your favorite artist? Why is it your favorite? Obviously, you don't want to copy anyone. Even paying homage to somebody that you grew up with could be interpreted as copying to somebody who doesn't really know you that well. So in certain ways, you do have to be a little bit careful with this. But a great thing is that you don't have to stay doing one thing over and over again. Evolution in music is good. One of your eras might be different from the next one because it's all an extension of you. You're just choosing which one you want to showcase at a time. So write things down. Rewatch your favorite concerts or your favorite music videos. Listen to your influences. Take some time and find the sounds that make you the happiest. Open up your DAW and for research purposes only, try to emulate one of your favorite songs in sonic production and see how you feel about it. Only you know your life. Only you know your story. Your sound is going to come from experimentation and identifying the sounds, words, and motifs that you are most drawn to. So take inspiration and history and show the world who you really are.